is on very heavily is on the estate tax. And the estate tax is a tough one because it's been out and it's supposed to make a comeback here by Nancy Pelosi's hand, I might add. And not only does she want to reintroduce the estate tax, but she wants to do it retroactively. That's going to be devastating to the gay community, and I would be very much opposed to that. And just for the record as well, I voted no on Prop 8.
Okay, they're both doing very well. Now we can applaud, do a temporary applaud here. Now this last segment is where the candidates will question each other. We'll go again with Dana first. That'll be 1 minute to ask the question, 2 minutes to answer, and 1 minute reply or comment or rebuttal. Dana?
Okay, I was not going to bring this up, but John brought it up in his opening comments. He brought up that I am not in the district, and I should add that I'm 1 block outside the district. But I have been involved in civic, philanthropic, business, and all sorts of community organizations since 1978 when I moved here. And I would like to ask John why he thinks I could not represent people in Congressional District 8, especially because he is a firm believer in the Constitution, and quite frankly, you're a little hypocritical because according to the Constitution, I could live in San Diego and I could still run in this community, in this district. I understand that would be a problem, but I live 1 block outside the gerrymandered district that Nancy Pelosi put together for herself. So I'd like you to answer why the constitutional requirement doesn't really make a difference to you. And also I would like to say that in the last 38 elections for which the Department of Elections has records, you've only voted 8 times. I voted 35 of the last 38. You voted 8. So I think I am very clearly able to represent the district, and I'd like you to explain why you think I could not, because I don't live in the district.
Sure, no one says anything about it not being your prerogative, but the fact of the matter is whether you live 1 block, 1 foot, 1 mile, 1 light year, you're outside of the district. And I think that if this whole issue of gerrymandering, are you suggesting that they gerrymandered the district so that you couldn't run against Nancy Pelosi?
No, John.
No,
I
okay.
never. I'm still
that's
asking why would being in the district not be an issue?
That's what gerrymandering implies. So sure, it's your constitutional constitutional right. The question is, why did you run? I mean, why not run against Jackie Spear? We need Republicans to run down there. I think we need a good quality candidate who's run before. I live in the district, and as I mentioned before regarding my voting record, yeah, I do admit I was not politically active. I've said that over and over and over again, and part of that time I lived in Europe. So I wasn't politically active. I got involved, but when I did, I got involved in force, and I campaigned, as I mentioned, in 4 states for Ron Paul, and I'm happily politically involved now.
Okay, now you can comment.
Okay. Well, I asked the question. Oh, so I respond. Well, again, I would just like to say that you always talk about what a Republican you are, but you actually have donated to Richard Gebhardt in the year that you first started voting, and he was actually the Democrat that was supported by Nancy Pelosi in that 2004 election. So I just, again, you're bringing up such a irrelevant notion. One of the reasons I'm running again is because I started a campaign last time and I plan to finish it now. I have 33,000 donors in 50 states throughout this country, and they want a candidate that's going to face down Nancy Pelosi on the issues that they care about.
Okay. Just want to remind the timekeepers that the question is 1 minute, the answer is 2, and the reply is 1 minute. Okay. Next question from John.
You mentioned before that you think that we have a role in building democracies around the world. There are broadly speaking, 2 different types of foreign policy, non-interventionism and interventionism. I'm a non-interventionist. That's part of the record. I presume you're an interventionist. Can you tell me under what circumstances the United States should intervene militarily in other nations?
Well, that's a very broad question. I do think that we belong in Afghanistan because that's the real question, and I think we belong in Iraq now until we can make them able to stand on their own. And I can't think of any other countries that we would intervene in. Do you have a specific question? But I do very clearly think that we had a reason to go into Afghanistan, and that we've got to clean up the job in Iraq.
Yeah, I think this is the problem with the interventionist foreign policies, that there really are no clear answers. It's sort of wing it and do it as you can. And it's one of the reasons why so many of us have decided that it's better just to make sure that Americans are protected and that not one red cent, not one red drop of American blood is spent trying to build nations. As far as Iraq is concerned, you know, one of the other concerns that people have is the fact that we get involved in these engagements and we tend to stay. We stay a long time. We've been in Korea for 60 years. We're in Japan for 65 years after World War II. We're in Germany for 65 years after World War II. And so the question is when does it end? This country's bankrupt. And I'm not kidding bankrupt, I mean really bankrupt. We cannot afford to continue to subsidize the national defense of the third most powerful economy in the world, and we cannot afford to subsidize the defense of the fourth most powerful economy in the world. And that's the reason why you have a non-interventionist foreign policy.
Do I have a response to that?
Now it's your turn to ask a question.
Yes, John, from the beginning of your campaign, you have mentioned that you will be very clear about some of your policies in the general election. And one of the things that I think Republicans should know about you is you've often mentioned about these surprise endorsements you plan to have in the general election. I think it's right that we've seen what surprise endorsements have done to Republicans in other races, most specifically New York 23. So would you be willing to tell this audience who these surprise endorsements are?
I have no surprise endorsements. I think that I will get surprising endorsements in the general election.
Well,
I mean,
then would you
look,
say
here's
what
the thing.
surprising? That's
Forgive me,
that's
it's
fair.
I'm
That's
sorry.
fair. What surprising endorsements
mine.
do you plan to get?
I have nothing in the queue, none whatsoever, but I will get them. Because the truth of the matter is that Cindy Sheehan, who I think admittedly would say she's not much of a candidate, got twice as many votes almost as you did. And the truth of the matter is that my position on Iraq and Afghanistan opens up a whole new opportunity here for us to reach out across the political spectrum and show a different face of the Republican Party to the city of San Francisco. The city of San Francisco's got a long, proud tradition with the Republican Party. It's one that I think that we should restore, and I think that's one we can do better with. So to answer your question, no, I don't have anything lined up, but I bet you I'll get some.
1 minute comment.
So your surprise endorsements will be as much a surprise to you as to the rest of us?
Yep.
Okay. That's interesting. So,
Continue.
yes. I campaigned last time, and I saw the Cindy Sheehan people, and I know that you have anti-war supporters, and I was very clear when I saw those people that they are the Hate America crowd. My only concern is that I think the Republicans who are here in the city, who you are asking for their vote, have to be very clear about what your position will be after you get the nomination. That is why I put up the website, John Dennis Exposed, because I think it's important. It's one of the things we have become most concerned about with our politicians, and it happened in 2008. We heard one thing and something else was delivered. It's my responsibility as another candidate to make sure the people who are voting know what they're voting for.
Thank you. This is the last question, John.
By the way, I love that website.
I know. Lucia my campaign manager wants
like
me to
one of-
charge you for it.
That's like one of my favorite. That's the thing I'm probably second most proud of in this whole campaign. I love that thing. Okay, sorry. Okay, quick question. Would you support an audit of the Federal Reserve System?
Certainly, yes.
And for what reasons?
Well, because I think the Federal Reserve has caused some very severe problems. Certainly this financial meltdown I opened my remarks with was certainly very much tied up with the loose money policy. I think it was very much, the only thing I'm concerned about is having it audited by Congress, because Congress was the other big player in that fiasco. So yes, I think an audit would be a very good thing. My concern would be who would be selected to do that audit.
The GAO is going to do that audit, not Congress. Congress won't have any impact whatsoever on policy. They'll just review what's happened. What I think is interesting, incidentally, about the Federal Reserve is that they won't even let us audit their records from 30 years ago. And